This is Councilman Fred Strong sitting in for Mayor Martin tonight and calling this meeting to order. And I would like to call on Melissa Boyer to please read the notice.
The city has returned to hybrid public meetings pursuant to AB 361, which allows for deviation from the teleconference rules required by the Ralph M. Brown Act. Residents now have the option to attend the meeting in person or to participate remotely. To participate remotely, residents can live stream the meeting at www.prcity.com/YouTube and call 805-865-7276 to provide public comment via phone. The phone line will open just prior to the start of the meeting and remain open throughout the meeting to ensure the opportunity to comment on each item heard by the council. Written public comments can be submitted via email to cityclerk@prcity.com prior to 12 noon on the day of the council meeting to be posted as an addendum to the agenda. If submitting written comments in advance of the meeting, please note the agenda item by number or name. City council meetings will be live streamed during the meeting and also available to play later on YouTube by accessing the following link, www.prcity.com/YouTube.
Thank you. And now I will ask us all to rise so that Councilman Bausch can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please face the colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you'll remain standing, I don't think that our representative from Atheists is here tonight, but if you would each all call on your own higher power and ask them to guide us tonight and bless us all. Thank you for 1 minute. Thank you. And I'll call on the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Bausch?
Present.
Councilmember Gregory?
Here.
Councilmember Strong?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
Here.
And Mayor Martin.
Here.
Thank you. And now it is our tradition to have everybody know who our staff is so that you know who it is that's serving you every day. And I will ask us to start with Melissa Boyer, our city clerk, on my right.
Melissa Boyer, City Clerk, joined by Shauna Howenstein, Civic Engagement Coordinator, and Karen Jackson, IT Technician.
Mary Sponholz, Deputy City Clerk.
Warren Frace, Community Development Director.
Chris Hewitt, Assistant City Manager.
Didas Esperanza, Capital Projects Engineer.
Ken Wells, Capital Project.
Government Public Works Director. Services Director.
Wayne Brown, Maintenance Services Superintendent.
Ty Lewis, City Manager.
Elizabeth Hall, City Attorney.
Very good. Thank you. And now we will have presentations, beginning with Didas Esperanza, our Capital Projects Engineer, on the Golden Hill Union Road roundabout ribbon cutting highlights.
Yes, Council, we just have a short video of the ribbon cutting that we held on June 23rd, 2023.
For attending as we formally cut the ribbon for the opening of this roundabout. Yay! So I would just like to give a shout out to the construction team who delivered this project to the citizens of Paso Robles. First, we have the Wallace Group engineers led by George Aguilar and Sarah Huffman. So George, Sarah, and I lived and breathed this project since 2018. George, Sarah, and I, we designed these projects using computer models and calculation. It's all on paper until we turn it over to the contractor. It takes a special skill to turn those designs into something of a reality. It's a great skill, and we really thank Granite Construction for doing a good job for converting our dream into reality. So thank you so much.
Huge congratulations and gratitude from the state legislature.
And everybody remembers what we had going on here before. It was just an amazing who's on first, who's on second, go on third, right? So it was one of those things where really, if we were ever going to do a roundabout, it was going to be here. What got me going was when we saw Dave Spur's 108-foot trailer come through this area and all the way through, and it was just amazing. We did a drone vision on it, and if you haven't seen that, I hope it's on our website someplace. That was quite amazing to see how a roundabout really does work. And also more efficient. It's super efficient, less cost to the taxpayers, no lights to have to maintain or loop detectors or anything like that. It just moves traffic really well, and we can see how it's doing that right now. So
now we're going to do the official ribbon cutting. So
That was amazing.
Council, with your permission, I'd like to have Ditas come on up.
Ditas, would you come to the front, please?
No, I didn't know.
So Assemblymember Don Addis had a certificate of recognition made for you, and we'd like to present it to you tonight. We know that, I think everybody in the room here, at least on the city staff side of things, knows how much time, effort, heart, and energy you put into making this project a success. And so on behalf of Assemblymember Don Addis and the city team, we want to thank you.
That was wonderful. Okay, and now we have Fire Hazard Severity Zone Map Community Update. Jonathan Stornett, our Fire Chief.
Good evening, Mayor Martin, members of council. Jonathan Stornett, Fire Chief. So at the beginning of this year, back in January, I came to you because fire hazard severity zone maps were being updated. This is a result of legislation that was passed in 2018 in accordance with Assembly Bill 2911. And essentially what that said is that every community throughout California would be evaluated for fire hazard severity zones. This has been common on the state responsibility area sides, which is all the county unincorporated areas, but never on the LRA, which is the local response area. And so when we saw the changes that had most recently come out with CAL FIRE, it only affected the unincorporated areas of the city on the west side. It identified levels of fire hazard severity from moderate, high, and very high. So the picture you see on the left is what it was prior to their map coming out in November of 2022, and their proposal was to raise it to very high, with what you see on the right side. The impacts, if this would have continued and they changed us to very high, we'd have to update our building codes, we'd have to update our fire codes, and I shouldn't say update, we would have to change them. Construction costs would increase. The construction cost just on a single family residential home would increase by a minimum of $50,000 with the new changes that they are required as part of that assembly bill. We have to update our general plan safety element. Defensible space inspections will be required for any home that was sold. We require our fire department or our community risk reduction to go out and do an inspection. So that takes time away from staff that the state would not be paying for, so it impacts us. And then obviously increases in insurance premiums. And you can see right there on the right, that's actually one of our residents in the city on the west side who received their letter at the beginning of this year that their premiums were increasing 25% over last year's. This is not uncommon, especially members of the council and members of the community. I've heard from a lot of you about this ongoing problem. So I came to you back in January and asked for the city council support and the community support to send a letter to the state fire marshal to outlining that we oppose their changes and do not agree with their recommendations. Throughout that time, we made many presentations, attended many meetings, and also spoke at public hearings with CAL FIRE, State Fire Marshal, and many others. So up here is just a small list of many of our organizations in the community that we spoke to, or we presented to, or sent letters to. So the conclusion is we are about halfway there in winning the battle, hopefully. So this is a report by State Fire Marshal. It said that they changed almost 8,000 acres just in San Luis Obispo County alone. You can see moderate increase by 533, high increase just over 7,300. But the most important one is that last bullet, that very high decrease by nearly 8,000 acres. And that was quoted right there by the Office of State Fire Marshal. The majority of those changes were west of the city of Paso Robles. So this is the map they proposed in November 2021 or 22, and it shows at the top that they are designating that area is very high. And after our recommendations and data that we provided them, they have brought that back down to just high hazard. And that's exactly the change we wanted to see. So what I'm asking of the community now is we've drafted a new public comment letter, a form letter, and we sent it out to all our stakeholders and cooperators today. Mayor Martin has signed a letter with my signature on it as well. It'll go to his Office of State Fire Marshal, to Director Berlant. And I'm going to put some copies at the back table here for people to take home, and we'll put it on the city website and the fire department website tomorrow. We're asking everyone to please submit a form letter saying that we agree with the changes and what they're proposing on the updated map as of June 15th. These letters do have to be in by August 9th of 2023. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I do want to thank my staff for stepping in while I was gone, because it was a pretty significant time commitment going around to the public hearings and meeting with everyone. So thank you to my staff for helping out.
Thank you. And are there any questions by any member of the council, starting with the dais? Councilman Bosch.
No questions, but Jonathan, thank you very much for all the effort that you put into this to make this change, and hopefully we can make some more changes within the city limits as well. Just heartfelt thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Martin, any questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to mention again, I really appreciate the common sense leadership that Jonathan's putting forth with regard to reasonable data that shows that their map really was not true, and that we will hopefully get enough people to support our city with letters. It's very, very important. I think that we all step up at this point, so can't reiterate that enough. I know that I was canceled, a lot of us were canceled on the west side, so it really needs to be time now to speak up if you're ever going to do something. So thank you, Fred.
Well, thank you. And Councilman Gregory.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Chief Stornetta. We appreciate you doing this for us. I'm gonna encourage all my friends that live on the west side to write letters to the state fire marshal's office, and we appreciate all the effort and the good due diligence you did to protect our fire rating. John, thank you very much.
And I will join all of them in saying the same, but we'll also ask the public if any member of the public has a question of the chief. Yes.
Dale Guston, I live on the west side. The only concern I have is how this would affect our fire rates on insurance.
Thank you. Yes.
Amy Russell, Paso Robles, Templeton Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to say thank you. We worked with you before on it, and I expect that we will be sending another letter.
Wonderful, thank you. And perhaps you could answer that one question.
What's that?
Dale Guston's question.
Sure.
Yes, this is the first step in addressing that, because obviously if we went to very high, it would be more than likely that your insurance would not be renewed. So we are working with many of the agencies out there that adjust the insurance rates. That's a bigger battle that we're working on. So.
Again, thank you very, very much then.
You're welcome. And just a reminder, I'm going to put some of those letters in the back. They're already, just sign them and mail them on.
Wonderful, okay. And this is a presentation, therefore no action required on the part of the council. So we will move next then to the public comments. And this is the time the public may address the council on items within the council's purview, but not scheduled on the agenda. All persons desiring to speak on an agenda item are asked to fill out speaker information cards and give them to the city clerk prior to speaking. Each individual speaker will be limited to a presentation total of 3 minutes per item. Those persons wishing to speak on any item scheduled on the agenda will be given an opportunity to do so at the time that item is being considered. State law does not allow the council to discuss or take action on issues not on the agenda, which would include any issues brought up by anybody during public comment, except that members of the council or staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by persons exercising their public testimony rights. And with that, I see one person at the podium, and I'll call on Dale Guston, please.
Dale Guston, 5770 Vista Serrano Way, Paso Robles, California. But as such, I'm outside the city limits. I'm asking the council to agendize the issuance of senior permits, because obviously it's a minuscule number of permits being issued for the number of seniors we have, both inside the city and outside the city limits, myself included. I know in San Luis Obispo, anybody in the county can get a senior permit. So I think that should be agendized.
Thank you.
Dale, clarification, what kind of permit?
Parking.
So what kind? Clarify that.
I'm sorry. For parking, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You're right, I didn't clarify that. For parking, senior permits.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comments? Going once? Any online?
No, sir.
Nope. In that case, we will then move on to the consent agenda and first ask if there are any items to be deferred.
No, Mr. Strong, there are no items to be deferred.
No items to be deferred. In that case, then we will move to the consent calendar. Is any council member wish to pull any item on the consent agenda? Councilor Vouch?
I do not.
No? Mayor Martin?
No, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. And Steve Gregory, Councilman Gregory.
No, thank you.
All right, and I have none to be pulled. Therefore, we will move ahead with the, anyone from the public want to pull any item? Anyone? Seeing none? Would somebody have a motion then?
Motion to approve all items on the consent calendar, items I-1 through I-15.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Hammond?
Mayor Martin.
Oh, Mayor Martin second. Mayor Martin second.
Yeah.
All right. Is that, and if that's the case, we will call roll, please.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
And Mayor Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very good. All right, we are now into the meat of the meeting.
Mr. Strong?
Before we do that, we're going to have our city manager explain what we just accomplished.
You read my mind, thank you. Sorry. That's okay. So item 1 is the approval of the June 20, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. Item 2 is receipt of the advisory body minutes from the library board on 5/11/23. Item number 3 is our reaffirmation of Resolution 23018, which allows us to conduct hybrid meetings. Item number 4 is the receipt of the warrant register. Item number 5 is the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 1132, amending the city zoning map to expand the highway-oriented sign overlay district. Item number 6 is acceptance of a parcel map, PR 22-0022, for recordation at 5175 Airport Road, SDG, Paso Robles. Item number 7 is acceptance of another parcel map. This one is PR 21-0191 for recordation at 90 12th Street for John Bruce. Item number 8 is approval of emergency services fire engine 8192 replacement, which I believe the chief told me it'll take about 4 years to get here. Item number 9, approval of issuance of award for plans, specifications, and estimates for Phase 2 of the Creston Road project from Orchard to Niblick. Item number 10, approval of a resolution authorizing payment to PG&E to install streetlights at 24th and Oak. Item number 11 is approval of award of construction contract for the Department of Public Works 22-14B, water service repairs in the Sierra Bonita and Trail Creek neighborhoods. Item number 12 is the approval of engineering services for a new sewage lift station on Union Road. Item number 13 is approval of the an airport lease agreement, parcel number 2. Item number 14 is acceptance of annual report on military equipment pursuant to AB 481 and renewal of ordinance number 1119. And last but not least, approval of the cost report for costs incurred abating public nuisance parcels. And that concludes a summary of those items.
We thank you for that. And that does now move us into the discussion items. And our first discussion item is the third quarter report of the El Camino Homeless Organization, sometimes referred to as ECHO, Memorandum of Understanding. Angelica Fortin will make the introduction, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. On August 16th of 2022, after convening an ad hoc committee to review a funding request made by ECHO Paso Robles, you approved an MOU to provide ECHO with funding not to exceed $444,000 over a 2-year period, made in quarterly payments of $55,500. To receive the payments, ECHO provides quarterly accounting and statistical reports and provides services as specified in the MOU. To date, ECHO has provided 2 reports and has received 2 payments totaling $111,000. In May of this year, ECHO completed its third quarter, and they are here today to report on that period. Staff's recommendation tonight is that Council receive and file this report and direct staff to make the third quarterly payment in the amount of $55,500. We are also recommending that the mayor temporarily reconvene the ad hoc committee to reconsider the funding request in light of a change in service model that recently came to our attention. During the last quarter, ECHO increased the number of beds in their 90-day program to 45, which decreased the number of nightly shelter beds available to 5. ECHO staff has indicated that they will continue to phase out the nightly shelter program as they experience more success in transitioning participants into permanent housing through the 90-day program. While we celebrate ECHO's success, this considerably changes the shelter options in North County and has the potential to impact how the city's community action team can engage with and compel homeless individuals to seek nightly shelter services. The 90-day and nightly bed programs can both be defined as emergency temporary shelter, but they serve very different functions. This was not made clear in the MOU, and staff is seeking the temporary reconvening of the ad hoc committee to further evaluate alignment between the city's needs and the services provided through the MOU. I do have ECHO here tonight with their report. If you'd like, I can invite them up now or answer questions.
Is there any member of the council who would object to having them give their report now? Hearing none, please do so.
I would rather hear them.
Pardon me?
Fred, I'd like to go ahead and have ECHO do the report first.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay, so to provide the report, I'd like to invite Austin Solheim up. He is ECHO's Director of Operation and Development for their Paso Robles site.
Thank you. And welcome to the podium.
Thank you. For the record, Austin Solheim, Director of Operations and Development for El Camino Homeless Organization, otherwise known as ECHO. First and foremost, just thank you so much for the opportunity to come to you, the council, and to the community to present what we have done at ECHO in this last quarter and the successes that we are able to share through our programming and support with our partnership with the city of Paso Robles. We are truly grateful. A few of these slides will look very familiar from our previous reports. We always like to point out in this report that our funding from the city of Paso Robles directly goes towards supporting staffing of our Paso Robles campus. That is included in all of our staffing that is there, and it's helping us to provide the service that are helping those facing homelessness transform their lives and get back into stable housing in our community. This is a slide that goes over some of our operating budget for the total of our program. So this is ECHO as a total, including Atascadero and Paso Robles. When we talk about funding that is coming in, this is a breakdown of that operating budget. To our quarterly report, as you can see in our total shelter stays throughout, we have seen a slight increase in the numbers of total shelter stays that we have seen through the months of March, April, and May. Included in that are individuals that did not receive a room and unduplicated nightly shelter stays. Our unduplicated nightly shelter stays are different individuals in this community that are experiencing homelessness. So that is how many individuals that we have served through our emergency shelter programs, both the 90-day and the nightly shelter program. For our quarterly documented successes for this quarter, individuals that have been enrolled into that program of the 90-day program. In March, you can see in 26, and I would like to point out that in that previous quarter, that number was 37. So there was a decrease in that. Some of the decreases and fluctuations from that site have been due to construction on that site from when we inherited and moved onto that site. With construction changes, it is our best practice and best interest of those we serve to be able to move individuals into a 90-day room when they won't have to move due to construction going on in that room. So you will notice that there are changes, and as Angelica mentioned, we have been able to increase that 90-day bed due to the effectiveness of that program, which can be shown in the next slide. But we do want to always point out that along with our services of getting people housed, it's also important that we are seeing people that are finding employment. So you can see that in March, we did see that 4, and through April and May, we've been able to double that and actually seen 8 in both of those months, and that continues to increase into this quarter as well. With additional programs and services that we have on site, ECHO is able to help provide a wraparound care to those that we're serving, including services such as wellness programs, Transitions Mental Health Association coming on site and providing mental health services, drug and rehab, and multiple different programs throughout our community and partners that are able to come on site and offer those services to us as well. Additional ECHO program and referral, you have access to this in your packets, but this really goes over how many dinners that we're serving through our community program, laundry on site, referrals to other resources, to drug and alcohol referrals, mental health, and all of those seen on site as well. Our programs and services provided include free cell phone service, doctor evaluation and referrals, on-site mental health evaluations through TEMA, haircuts, substance abuse education, arts and craft, story and game times, and monthly as needed, we're including CalFresh assistance from the Department of Social Services, COVID-19 influenza and vaccine clinics, clean slate programs, and many more services. ECHO Paso Robles was excited to add new programs this quarter, such as the Clean Slate program and Children's Story and Craft Time with Raising a Reader, which is a county program. A floral arranging class was actually taught by one of our own clients with a combination of a partnership with Trader Joe's, who donated those flowers to be able to give every single mother on site a bouquet for Mother's Day. And we even were able to work with partners to provide free healing sessions with sound healing and therapy as well. We're loving to be able to provide that mix of programming and working with volunteers and partners throughout our community and our county. We also work to be a good neighbor. As part of our MOU, we enroll in we call ECHO's Good Neighbor program that has been in full effect with the residents of the 90-day program, working with staff to clean up trash in Black Oak neighborhood along the Black Oak corridor. We also hold our neighborhood stakeholder meeting, which we held on April 27th, and had a great turnout and enjoyed the collaboration and support we received from our neighboring businesses. We have seen a lot of improvement in the relationships with those businesses by going out and with our team, our shelter manager, our case managers, and our 90-day residents, going out and actually picking up all of the trash along the Black Oak corridor and even adopting that street as well. We have not received any calls on our 24-hour line that is required by our MOU, but our team has gone out and engaged with local business owners to assist in outreach efforts and address their concerns when needed. I did want to share a few of the success stories. For us, as we mentioned, success comes in multiple ways. This is a success story that is about employment. So this is Danny. Before coming to ECHO Paso Robles campus, Danny had gone through a very hard time in his life. He had been hospitalized for severe lung problems and also went through separation with his partner. He had been working full-time at a gas station to pay his bills, but due to his health, he could no longer lift heavy objects and complete his duties. Eventually, this led to Danny facing homelessness in our community. But then Danny found his way to ECHO and joined the 90-day residential emergency shelter program. He got right to work with ECHO case managers, applying for jobs that could help him get on his feet. At the start of May, Danny interviewed and was hired as a sales rep for a local solar company. And after just a few weeks of successful sales and commission, Danny was able to get his driver's license and purchase a car. And we're excited for Danny and looking forward to see what he does next. And we're proud of the program that we're able to offer that provides Danny that stability to be able to continue to work towards his housing plan and continue to work towards housing while he still is facing homelessness in our community, using and accessing our emergency shelter through our 90-day program. Another success story that I wanted to share was Kim. In the summer of 2022, Kim found herself facing homelessness in our community. She had recently left her home and moved with family, but things took a turn for the worst. Kim was not able to stay with family for long and soon found herself without a home and searching for resources. In July, Kim started accessing resources at ECHO Paso Robles campus and utilizing the nightly shelter bed program. After watching others facing homelessness get back into housing and building trust with the case management team and staff on site, Kim decided to apply and join ECHO's 90-day residential emergency shelter program. She immediately got to work on her individualized housing plan and started setting goals for herself. And one of those goals was her sobriety. After a month of trying to do it on her own, Kim admitted to her case manager that she had relapsed and she needed help. The two got to work on a plan and collaboratively created new activity at ECHO where staff transports any willing residents of our program to Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous. Not only did this lead to Kim maintaining and accomplishing her goal, but also encouraged other residents of our campus to be able to connect with those services and seek those services and support from the community. Kim continued to work and connect with the community resources, and after many applications and hours of searching, she finally found a place to call a home of her own. And she lights up when describing it. Kim made an everlasting impression of all of ECHO, and although we will miss her contagious positivity, we are so excited in this next chapter of her life. We also wanted to share with this, there's just so much raw emotion when someone goes through that experience of being housed, and we wanted to share a video of that as well in this presentation, just to share that little glimpse with both you officials of the city and to this amazing community who makes these events possible. Well, they're getting that going. So we do have a tradition at ECHO, and it is all about when someone successfully exits, adding their handprint to this wall of all the successful exits that we've had this year.
Yes. There you go. There you go. Okay, now. That's one fat hand.
Cool. That works. All right. Yeah. Stand by with Maria real quick.
Each one of these moments is truly just incredibly special that we're able to share with all of the residents and any that use our services. And we as an organization are just incredibly grateful to share that to year this date, ECHO has been able to house over 101 men, women, and children in our community through our services, which is absolutely incredible and would not have been possible without the support of our partners and without 2 campuses in Paso Robles and Atascadero.
Thank you. And I see another member of your team. Do they want to speak also?
Hi, good evening. I'm Wendy Lewis, CEO of El Camino Homeless Organization. I'm here just if there's questions that I need to support Austin through the community dialogue. But also wanted to reiterate our gratefulness to the city for this partnership. And as Austin mentioned, each one of those hands that's on those walls is showing that lives are being transformed and the services are effective. And we're just grateful for not only the city's support, but the community's support as well.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, are there any questions by any members of the council, starting with Councilman Bouch?
So we're confident that the $55,000 was well spent and taxpayers are well represented. Thank you very much for all you guys do.
Okay, and Mayor Martin?
Yes, thank you very much. A couple of questions or suggestions. I appreciate the forward outgoing look on the ECHO operation, which is important for our community to know about. Internally, however, when it comes to things like meeting with local business partners down there, I've always advocated having an actual list of meeting times and places and the businesses that were actually present. And if there are any comments from the businesses, sort of an explicit report on that to the council, so that we have sort of a better understanding of how that partnership is actually working out. Also, I think it would be a good idea if in the future there was an opportunity for local organizations that are teaming with ECHO to provide services to the homeless would have the opportunity to give feedback on these reports as to the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and potential threats to that relationship in the future. So, for instance, people that do the feeding, people that provide other services would be able to make recommendations that the council could take into account when we discuss this issue and sort of get a more nuts and bolts internal information database on what's going on with the different activities facing ECHO. Also, just one comment that I'll throw out there, and it's just one comment I've received. It's not like a tidal wave of phone calls or anything, but I did have a phone call from someone who was concerned that it was their impression that ECHO Atascadero and ECHO Paso Robles were sort of trying to, for lack of a better term, mirror each other, be like each other, be consistent. And I think we've always understood and maintained that certain aspects of the homeless situation are unique to Atascadero and others are unique to Paso Robles. And I want to be sure that we don't homogenize our efforts to the point where they become less effective than they could be. Thank you.
And thank you, Mayor. And Mayor Pro Tem Ham.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Strong. I did have some questions for Austin. In short, Mayor Pro Tem Hammond and Councilman Gregory were on the ad hoc, and to my understanding through the MOU, that we were going to be basically a partnership with city tax dollars to design a program that would give the overnight beds up to 49, I believe it was, and it has changed without actually any discussion on our side of the fence. I'm a little upset about the fact that we didn't really hear about this. I mean, I'm extremely happy that we're making progress with getting people back into homes. That's the whole point. But like Mayor Martin just mentioned, our program was set up differently than Atascadero. And so I'd like to try to address that tonight if we can. I further definitely want to see that our ad hoc get back together so we can work out some sort of a compromise or some way to work forward through this problem that I see, and others, I think. So Austin, do you have any absolute solutions to kind of what I've said at this point?
So I would just say, first and foremost, just thank you for bringing that up. I would say that on that ECHO sees itself as a partner to the city of Paso Robles, and we are happy to work with the city of Paso Robles to find a solution to the continuum of care that's needed for this community. And we appreciate the input. When we presented in Q2 and we started this presentation of increasing these 90 beds, we did not see that raise in concern. And so we did not realize the effect that it would have when we raised that even further. We are happy to continue to meet with that city partners and find what that number is of nightly shelter beds to continue our operations and continue to work together to be a cohesive unit that helps those that are facing homelessness in our community. That is, Wendy, do you have any comments on that as well?
Yeah, so one thing I'd add is from the beginning, we have always offered the majority of the 90-day programming beds because of that effectiveness. So in the beginning of the project, I believe we averaged about 2/3 90-day and then about 1/3 what we are now calling the night by night. So those terms are kind of newer as we evolve these different operations. So I believe in the early stages, we were about 12 out of our 50 were the night by night, which is someone has to stay for the evening. In the morning, they're taking all their belongings with them and they're coming back that next night. The 90-day is where they are committing to forward progress, their case management, they have an individualized plan, and they don't have to take their belongings. So as they're going out to look for work, they're able to leave their items, kids are able to go to school. So in the initial stages, and throughout the whole partnership, we've always had more significant number of the 90-day versus what we're terming as night by night.
Okay, thank you. Next, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Gregory.
So, yeah, Wendy, just a quick question. Have you guys kept track of your number, your shelter nights all along, percentage-wise?
So, Councilperson Gregory, can you repeat that? I think a motorcycle was going by at the same time as your question.
No problem. So, have you kept track of the number of overnights for what we're calling shelter nights only all along? Do you have the statistics for that? That's something we could bring to the meeting, but I want to see that if we can.
I'm so sorry. Could you clarify the question? Are you asking how many of the night by night? We maintain in our report how many nightly shelter beds. We consider all of our beds nightly shelter beds. Are you asking for a breakdown of the night by night versus the 90-day? Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, and that's something that you don't have to produce tonight, but if we reconvene and go into the ad hoc, that's to be something very interesting to look at.
Yeah,
I think the numbers are very similar.
Those breakdowns have been in each of our quarterly reports since we've formed this partnership. So those night by night versus 90-day are in our reporting documents, but we're happy to create something that is easier to digest if that's would help the process.
I think it'd be very, very important to look at what we've been doing for the last 18 months or however long we've been operating. Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Very good. And did I call on Mayor Pro Tem Hammond? Yeah, okay.
Yes, you got me.
All right.
I'm good.
All right, very good. And I have no additional questions. I think everybody has covered it pretty well. But I don't know if any member of the public have any questions. We have one member of the public has a question.
Dale Augustin, Paso Robles. I came here in '79, and in the '80s and even into the '90s, we didn't seem to have a homeless problem. but for the grace of God, I could be one of those homeless. I lost a great deal of my revenues and assets due to just bad luck. And so a lot of these people have the same thing happen to them. They've had bad luck. And I'm just a little bit taken back by the old saying from the movie, If we build it, will they come? And instead of reducing the number of homeless, it seems to be increasing. So I don't know if we're making it too nice a program, but certainly it's a needed program, well managed, and I'm all for it. And I remember when Paso Care started in Paso, and now they've merged with Echo. And certainly there's a lot of people out there on the hard luck end of a lot of things that this program is helping. So I think it's worthwhile.
Dale, did you have a question? That was what we
No
brought you.
question, just a comment.
We brought you for questions. That's all right, fine. Because now we were going to have comments next. So is there any other member of the public with a comment? All right. If not, we get back to the council for comment and or motion. Anyone?
Fred, I can go ahead and start.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just want to compliment basically the citizens of Paso Robles for stepping up and helping ECHO. I encourage Wendy to do that, and I've seen a lot of good support coming from the public side. We are using, of course, our tax dollars to support them through the city, but it takes a lot more money to do that, to make this whole program work and grow. I know they're doing some good work. We're seeing it. The thing I want to see, though, through the ad hoc is somehow we can stay on communication level with what they have plans, what's working, what's not working, how they want to change. I think that's really important when you have a partnership relationship, that we need to know what it needs to do to proceed and to make it work better. So I would certainly make a motion to approve tonight's options that we have in front of us, if you'd like to have me do that.
Mr. Strong, Steve Gregory here. Sorry, did I step over?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
So, I would make a second for the motion, but I just want to make some comments.
Okay, please proceed with your comments as well.
As the representative stated, we want to continue to work well and with ECHO. This is very helpful. Work through these issues by meeting often, dealing with all the issues that come up. The program has been very successful, and I think it's really good for the ad hoc to get together with them and fine tune this whenever we need to, because that's the point of the ad hoc. And this is a great representation of, if it's an issue that's talked about, figure out from the staff perspective and the community perspective. I would agree with this.
Okay.
Fred?
Yeah, Councilman Gregory, we're having a lot of background noise on your end, but I think we've gotten the gist of what you had your comments were. I do have a question of the city attorney, though. Is this still an ad hoc if we reconvene it? Or do we have to recreate an ad hoc?
So the mayor can just call an ad hoc committee. It doesn't take an action of the council. So the mayor can just say he wants to reconvene.
Or reappoint the same people.
Reappoint the same people. Either terminology works. It's
Okay.
just, it doesn't take a formal action of the council. It's at the direction of the mayor.
Fine, very good. With that clarification, yes.
So just to clarify, there was a lot of background noise on the motion and on the second. Just to clarify, the motion to receive and file ECHO's third quarter report and to include directing staff to disperse the third payment in the amount of the $55,000. I would also like to add the comment of, it sounds like we're moving towards increasing the number of 90-day beds, and I think that's a great idea. I am concerned and would like to request that we try to track how many, if that has an impact on how many of the unhoused then appear downtown, for example. It seems like the overnight program, certainly to my unscientific observation, that it had a direct impact on reducing the number of people that were wandering around downtown. I thought that was a great benefit, and I seem to recall that being one of the major benefits of purchasing the hotel, and one of the trade-offs of investing into that hotel for the homeless. If it increases the number of people wandering around downtown, in other words, decreasing the number of overnights stays and increasing the number of 90s, and I have no idea if it will change those numbers or not, be open to returning to the original model. I think that would be important to keep track of that. I don't know if that's a 6-month observation or change or a 1 year. I'll leave that for you or the ad hoc committee to come up with that, but I'll ask that again in a year from now. But thanks very much again for all of your work.
Well, thank you. Before we take the vote, then I'll take this opportunity to make a comment or two myself. I know that there are some other programs that are being considered and grants have been applied for by the county that deals with part of the same problem, especially 90-day programs. And I'm wondering how ECHO intends to cooperate with or modify their programs to account for what the county is doing if the county is successful in their grant applications and that program comes into the Paso Robles area also. So I think that's just a quick question for you before we take the vote.
So the 90-day program definitely has become kind of the countywide is recognizing that it is it gives people the ability to get back into housing on the fastest path. So we have shared our model with our partners with the county so that any lessons learned from us, we're happy to work with them to make the whole continuum of care better. And so our partners at 40 Prado, they're looking at doing a lot of conversion as well. And then Five Cities Homeless Coalition, who opened Cabins for Change, that's a 90-day model as well. So as the county looks at the strategic plan, we're definitely aligning and partnering with the county as well as the cities we work with.
So you're willing to be flexible in your operations?
Can you repeat that?
So you're willing to be flexible in your operations?
We're willing to be flexible within the funding we have and the ability to do so.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I've had all my questions answered. Everybody else has?
Yes.
I'll please call for the question.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond?
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch?
Aye.
Councilmember Strong?
Aye.
And Mayor Martin?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very good. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to item number 2 then. And that is a request for...
Strong.
Oh, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is John. I'm going to have to probably back out here a little bit, but I did want to make a note that I would certainly be willing to serve on the ad hoc along with, I'm sure, Councilman Gregory of Mayor Martin so determines that we should continue. We should probably get that established too before
Okay,
we move on.
we could ask Mayor Martin if he wants to make that known tonight.
Yes, let's go ahead and make it official that we want to reconvene that ad hoc with the original members.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very.
Thank you. And now, if that's fully clarified, we will move on with the request for support for San Luis Obispo County's Regional Housing Infrastructure Plan, HIP, consistent with the 2020 San Luis Obispo Countywide Regional Compact. And for that, I guess we've got City Manager Ty Lewis leading off.
Thank you, Mr. Strong. So this evening we have our partners from REACH. Russ Griffith is here to provide a presentation on the HIP and how it would integrate with SLOCOG and the regional housing plan as presented this evening.
Thank you very much. Perfect. I'd like to have the clicker. No, just by way of a brief introduction, Mayor Martin and members of the council, my name is Russ Levinway. I represent the REACH, Regional Economic Impact Organization, and I am here with my colleague, Michael Foote, as well as Jane Worthy, who is the planning director at SLOCOG. And we're really pleased to be here today and to briefly overview the Regional Housing and Infrastructure Plan, or as we call it, the HIP. Nick, just by way of a quick background of what we will cover today. Firstly, just the overall background and highlights, some specific information about how we have engaged stakeholders through this process, and just a general overview and key findings of this project, the future phases of this strategy, and we will close with recommended actions that your City Council could consider in order to support this process and help keep it moving forward. Now, as we know, there are many challenges with addressing housing, and Paso Robles has been a leader in growing housing across the workforce for a long time. When we really think about it, the fact is that you, as a city of Paso, very specific highlights that have been called out both by your own planning staff as well as private sector industry and developers. The Oak Park project, which has doubled the density, which is a very creative way, while also providing much needed affordable housing. The Creston Corridor project and the Niblick Corridor project, they will both significantly help existing and future housing. So a very forward thinking and future thinking about the needs over the next 2 decades. And love or hate Rena, the fact of the matter is that Paso Robles has a strong history of meeting the state's regional housing needs allocation numbers. And there has been broad community support for some of the necessary infrastructure costs, including the 0.5% sales tax measure and the funds that are used for sidewalk and road maintenance. So there's a lot that is really happening in Paso Robles. It's very great forward thinking when it comes to housing and the needs for our residents. We also know at the same time that there is no single agency, no company, and no organization that is going to solve our region's housing and infrastructure challenges alone. We know that this is not a burden held entirely by local government, but you are a key part of the overall ecosystem of stakeholders. That includes state, building, the developing and design community, SLOCOG, the county and city, and of course, your own planning and permitting. So all those go together to create what we call a regional strategy to address our region's housing needs. So that being said, we know that we can achieve a lot together though, and that is really what is bringing us today's strategic planning tool and recommended action around that tool. Just by way of a little background, it takes a really helpful to take a quick step back in order to step forward. In 2019, the county, the cities, and San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, as well as private industry stakeholders, they began work on a phased regional initiative to strategically work towards solving the problem of housing supply that is affordable, as well as shortages for infrastructure costs, because the infrastructure is what makes housing building even possible. So this regional initiative stemmed out of recognition that we could solve these problems together. And then there were 3 goals overall of that. The first one was regional collaboration. And the first big step of that regional collaboration happened back in 2020, which was when your city council, along with all 7 of the city councils in our county and the county's board of supervisors and SLOCOG, they unanimously adopted a regional housing compact. So this document is what really formalized all of our collected regional agencies' intent to work collaboratively, and it established for the first time a common regional vision around housing. That was the first big goal. The next big one was aligning land use planning documents. So in late 2020, the 8 local land use planning agencies, which are 7 cities and the county, they were required to update their jurisdiction's housing elements to reflect how each community was planning their housing needs all the way through to 2028. And all of agencies, for the first time ever, they included a regional chapter identifying regional policies to pursue together, which was an important step toward aligning land use planning in our community. And then the third piece was the creation of a strategic action plan, which is why we're here today, being able to present with you an update on that a strategic action plan, which has developed into what we would call a living analysis tool. And that's meant to be the toolkit for strategic action and implementation of that over the long term. So you can see here, I summarize really everything up to 2022. And the last piece to really call out is that in June of 2022, the Housing Infrastructure Plan was really revived. It existed at SLO County, but became dormant during COVID. But it was revived with an MOU between the county and SLOCOG, under which SLOCOG took over as a project manager of that final effort, the development of a strategic analysis and related toolkit. The Housing and Infrastructure Plan seed funding comes from Senate Bill 2, and that's on grant funding sunsets in September 2023. That's why we are here today and why we have been moving at an accelerated pace throughout this process to bring this, to fruition as quickly as possible. So what is the plan's purpose? Ultimately, it is these three big broad bullets. First, we need to inventory infrastructure barriers and to prioritize housing, number one. Number two, identify funding to implement these infrastructure needs. And lastly, develop foundational information for the future RENA, because this is meant to be a living tool that will sustain over the long term. This is just briefly to just show there's been an incredible amount of intent around stakeholder engagement. And we're so appreciative for the city of Paso Robles for your involvement in this process and multiple times during this process. We have had key process, it really is the city managers meeting together to really collectively catalyze where we are today in many ways. And we really appreciate, Ty's really thoughtful feedback and suggestions about how we build and architect and present, this plan. We have a housing action team, which meets monthly, and it includes the city, the county, the COG, and planners and directors. So we appreciate Paso Robles, your planning team, and Warren and your team and your involvement in this. We've been closely engaged with builders and developers, and they have provided plenty of feedback on how to be able to, have the right ecosystem for building. And then we have our housing advocacy group, as well as regular updates to city and county elected officials. So this has happened over the course of this year, up until now. So there's been very heavy stakeholder engagement so we can get feedback from a broad-based group as possible. This last slide that I had before handing it over to my colleague, Michael, for some of the details of this project, and just that you can see that we're kind of we're in a roadshow of sorts right now. Our goal in this section is to take this to every city council as well as the Board of Supervisors, and to be able to show a few key things. First of all, we want to show you the HIP and the progress toward the HIP and implementation. It's a big piece of that housing compact that collectively was committed to. But we also want to emphasize a few other things about the HIP today. One, that there's no mandatory action. This is not something that takes away local control and moves it anywhere else. We're not asking you to adopt or approve a formal resolution. We're asking, though, for your support for the Housing and Infrastructure Plan as a living and strategic planning tool, to kind of embrace that and to use that. So that's something that will help all of our regional entities collaborate together to address this issue. And that's basically what we are presenting to all of the city council and ultimately back to the SLOCOG Board of Directors to adopt the plan, and to the County Board of Supervisors to ultimately accept the adopted plan. So from there, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Michael, for some explanations on a lot of the really important details of the HIP.
Thank you, Russ. And hello, Mayor and council members. As Russ said, I have been working closely with the SLOCOG team, going over all of the plan elements. And again, I'll be covering some of those right now. So really the partners from the different cities recognize the need for coordinated regional analysis to identify the most impactful infrastructure that supports the creation of needed housing, and as well as an additional tool to better inform our processes that we share across the counties. The elements of this toolkit are really not designed, again, to supersede any existing plans or limit local control in any way, just to add insight and into the shared challenges that help us better position our funding for infrastructure projects, as well as align housing developments in a way that makes sense for each of the communities. The HIP project led to the creation of the following tools, as you can see. Each of these are in your packet, so I'm just going to go over three that are really the highlights that probably are of particular interest to your council. That would be the prioritization considerations, the funding strategies, and the Affordable by Design study. The rest are, again, discussed in details in your staff report. So SLOCOG focuses analysis on the highest impact areas to accelerate housing supply. First, from the county and each city, they provided community land use data, infrastructure needs to support community growth. For the scope of this project, only housing and project needs that each agency already identified were included, but the structure was built to include future projects and housing data as general plans and development progress. SLOCOG analyzed housing efficient areas, looking at areas that already have transportation, wastewater, and water capacity based on data provided by the agencies and staff, including Paso Robles. This called down a list of 440 projects down to 80 housing efficient projects, looking again at transportation access, water capacity, wastewater capacity. And after guidance from previous councils, SLOCOG has stopped the prioritization at this level, but with regional support, future considerations could dive deeper into this prioritization with additional factors such as whether it's necessitated for new housing development, benefit to cost ratios, barriers to development, and then jobs to housing ratios, which are already being worked on by REACH. As it stands, SLOCOG will maintain this list as an evergreen planning tool, updating it as projects develop and general plans change. Some of the key findings here, the HIP really helps to strategically consider whether the region's funding could maximize the ability to remove housing barriers and better position cities for infrastructure needs and funding. Really looking at this breakdown of water and transportation, an important finding in this process was that 80 of the HIP projects, our county as a whole has a combined funding gap of about $1 billion. Of those projects, about a quarter of them are water, wastewater, and the remaining are transportation. This is very impactful. And, really what we're seeing here, listed here are projects that each of the communities deem as vital. Here are a few examples of the HIP priority process listed by subregion. You'll notice that in Paso specifically, these are major transportation projects, water, wastewater upgrades, and electric charging stations that would expand regional bus routes. So to dive deeper into the funding as a key barrier, SLOCOG brought on a consultant, BKF Engineering, to conduct a funding assessment specific to our region's priority infrastructure needs. So again, these priority projects that were listed. This study essentially provides a toolkit for your city and other agencies in the region. While not guaranteeing that funding will come to our region, it helps lay the groundwork and better position us for these funding opportunities. Not only that, but by including our community and our sub-regions projects as priorities in the HIP tool, it also helps us tell this key story and about how critical these infrastructure needs are to solving our region's housing challenges and making our projects more competitive when you seek state and grant funding. So another component of this HIP is the Affordable by Design study. This was really developed, again, by recommendation of staff to really solve the problem or look at the problem, analyze the problem, of whether housing could be built without subsidy. So without deed restriction or financial assistance, specifically focused on the challenges in our region. SLOCOG contracted Eco Northwest to conduct this study, and their work involved engagement in agencies, community development and planning staff, as well as local developers, really to gather details from recent projects. The initial findings, the initial findings are sobering but not surprising. Essentially, the current market as it is possible to build rental units at higher density with limited amenities, with some potential for policy change to keep levels of affordability to low and moderate incomes. However, the margins do not indicate that affordable by design is possible for sale units, with the exception of manufactured homes. Again, as a tool, this study is very helpful for consideration of possibilities that could be used elsewhere, for considering possibilities of policies that have been used elsewhere, which may offer possible policy levers for local government agencies such as Paso to consider. This does not require any specific action by Paso, and it is not again, requiring you to consider these policies today, but really looking at them as a tool that could potentially unlock additional affordability. I do just also want to note that some of these tools and policies are already in place in Paso Robles. So potential policy considerations might be further streamlining the development review process or creative fee structures. But again, some of this is already in play here. and could potentially just be deepened or strengthened a little bit further. This study really just offers an analysis to understand what affordable by design really is in our region, and gives us a toolkit for policies that each community can consider. And again, while there's no action that's required, as I said before, each of these policies are being looked at within the context of both our region specifically and what has worked in the broader state as a whole. So with that, these are the elements of the plan. I'm going to pass it back to Russ to wrap it up and close it out for us.
Thanks, almost done, I promise. I just want to share again, today just one step, right, of a larger ongoing regional collaboration effort. You can see here we are in the kind of like the future phase of it. Goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, have a plan. And now there's actions that come out of the plan. So again, as we stated, like we are asking, all of the agencies and all of our communities, both private and public, to really ensure that the housing and infrastructure plan succeeds when it's adopted. Like the last thing we want is for all this effort to end up sitting on a shelf somewhere, because the tools are incredibly valuable resources and can really, if they're used and implemented, they can make a big difference in our communities. And again, though, nothing in the housing infrastructure plan mandates that you as a city should take any specific action. There's no risk of loss of local control. The housing infrastructure plan is a living regional strategic planning tool, but it will help you. It will help you. It will help your planning department and will help your community in terms of what can be done and what can be scaled in the future. And then one last thing is that we really do understand that no size fits all when it comes to these things, which is why when you look at this tool, it's a menu of options typically. Some may be relevant to your city and some may be relevant to another, but that's the nature of regional elements. Certain things are going to be more necessary for you and more meaningful. So we tried to create something that was inclusive, and also understand that is no size fits all. And so now we're basically, the question is, like, at this point, at this juncture, to move to this next phase about voluntarily taking action around the housing and infrastructure plan. What we are asking is a very simple, question for today, which is that we respectfully ask that the City Council consider support for the regional housing and infrastructure plan as a recommitment to the 2020 regional compact. That will help us know we're on the right track and continue to move things forward. And I would love to answer any questions. My colleague, Michael, and James from SLOCOG are all here and happy to answer any questions for you.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll ask the council first if they have any questions, starting with Councilman Bosch.
Not at this time, thank you. It's a really fast presentation. Thank you for trying to get through that really quickly.
And Mayor Martin.
No, thank you very much.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Hammond.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. I did have a question, maybe not so much for Russ. I certainly want to make sure that our council does recommit, to the previous agreement. But I was going to ask Warren, what steps can we take? I know we've done exceptionally well on our arena numbers, better than most in the county. But do you have any suggestions that can help Paso move forward with what we have already talked about and planned?
Yes, thanks, Councilman Hammond. I think, right now our prioritization as identified by our Housing Constraints and Opportunities Committee is to focus on the rental housing supply and availability, which basically has been confirmed by the HIP analysis that is a key path forward for providing affordable housing. So we continue to work with local developers on building apartments. We've got the Red Tail apartments under construction right now, and we're partnering with the Housing Authority on a number of projects as well. So I think those two strategies do look like they're going to produce affordable rental projects. And then we also have the accessory dwelling unit program in the specific plans. Looks like the Olson specific plan is going to be able to produce many hundreds of ADUs in the first phase. So that could also, significantly improve the rental supply. So I think those are the primary focuses that were identified by the Housing Constraints Committee that we're focused on right now internally.
Okay, thank you.
I believe, Warren, that our Red Tail isn't Red Tail and Market Rate the new one that's planned there at Rolling Hills and Golden Hill, or Rolling Hills and Crescent, I believe?
Yeah, those will be market rate units. And then with the Housing Authority, we have the actual income restricted units. So it's kind of a strategy of providing both types.
Very good. Thank you, Warren. That's all I had, Fred.
Okay, and Councilman Gregory.
Yeah, Warren, I had a couple questions for you. It seems like our strategy is almost similar to what they're presenting to us tonight, and we're doing very well with our strategies. So what is the impact of supporting or not supporting this infrastructure plan they're presenting to us? Can you share that with me?
Yeah, I think, the benefit is a regional coordinated approach to prioritizing and funding infrastructure. So that is one of the issues with these projects is adequate infrastructure to support them, especially off-site facilities like roads, water, sewer. So to the degree as a region, we can help to share those costs and plan for those ahead of time. That makes it that much easier for the developers or the housing agencies to then deliver the product. So we think this is a really good approach to having a regional strategy on how to fund these big infrastructure projects. So we think this is very beneficial.
So there's no downside to participating in the infrastructure plan. Just basically more opportunity for us.
We think this is a benefit.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Bausch, you have another question?
I just want to make sure my understanding is somewhat accurate. So by participating in this, supporting this, SLOCOG then has reason to support our projects, Paso Robles projects, now, because we're ready to go with some projects. Down the road, that funding may go towards other communities that aren't quite ready with their projects today, but would be ready down the road. That seems to be a fair way to do this right now. Is there any downside to doing this? Or would there be any future needs that we might have that could come back to haunt us?
Well, I think the overall strategy is to identify those projects that will result in the production of the most housing. So to the degree we have competitive projects that will produce housing, this will benefit us. And I believe, the city is in that position. Right now, SLOCOG already funds all the transportation projects through grants and whatnot. So they already have lists we're already on. There's different metrics that they're using to evaluate them. I think this will be another metric that actually will be, to our benefit just because we do produce a lot of housing. And right now there is no county or regional assistance for water or sewer projects. So to the degree this might produce some additional funding for those, that's also a win. Okay,
so it has some tangential effect that by doing these projects now, there are benefits today and possibly in the future as well. Okay, thanks, Warren.
Okay, and thank you. And I have a question, and that is, with the criteria that we're using, are we using state or federal criteria in looking at what is moderate, what is low income, what is, et cetera?
Really just for the Affordable by Design study is the only component that looked at affordability, and that used the HUD's definition of 30% of income going towards housing. So
okay, so we're using the HUD.
And looking really at low, not extremely low, to moderate incomes.
Okay, so HUD's definitions, basically. Yes. All right, thank you. That was my question. Any member of the public have a question? Are there any questions online?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none, then I'll bring it back to the council for action. Anyone?
Councilman Strong?
Yes.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to receive and file, and also reaffirm our commitment from the previous 2020 compact for regional collaboration and housing infrastructure.
Second.
And I have a second from Councilman Bausch. So motion by Hammond, second by Bausch, and I'll call for a roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Hammond.
Aye.
Councilmember Bausch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory,
Aye.
Councilmember Strong,
Aye.
and Mayor Martin.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, all, and we'll move to our city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Strong. Excellent job tonight running the meeting. I appreciate your help. We do have a number of things going on within the city that I'm happy to provide you with some quick highlights. And if anybody has any questions, we can go from there. Happy to let the community and the council know, I think you might be aware of this, that our Congressman, Mr. Panetta, was successful in getting us to the next step in seeking approval for $500,000 for our fighter trading facility. So that's some good news on the horizon. I think we have a few more hoops to jump through, but we're also waiting for potential apportionment from Senator Padilla's office to help us with our state Route 46 overcrossing project as well. So there's a couple irons in the fire that hopefully will yield some positive results in the way of financing for some of our critical infrastructure projects that we currently have on the books. We also just want to let you know that we utilized $3.5 million of one-time Measure J funds to augment our city's street repair plans. So again, as we promised to the community, not only are we using the E12 money, but also GA20 money as well. And with more of that information sharing to come for the community and for the council. We have a contractor working on our Golden Hill Tank 2 recoating and repairs. It's wrapping up a warranty repair. As the community might remember, we have about a 4 million gallon potable water tank that we repaired not too long ago. After our due diligence and inspection by our water teams, we noticed that it needed some repair, and we were lucky to get the contractor to step up and repair those. So we're almost done there. We're also continuing with our recycled water distribution system, 120-foot length, 48-inch diameter is going in right now. There's some pictures that I wish I could share with you, but I think council's been privy to some of that, but just want to make the community aware of that investment as well. And then, of course, KSBY, our recreational services staff, are in the news, trying to help the community along with our emergency services folk. When it comes to heat-related issues, it's been super hot. I think we had a 112-degree day, opening up City Hall and various buildings to be able to accommodate those members of our community that might not be able to stay as cool as they'd like to during these tough conditions. Our PD has been super busy. They attended a career day with the Boys and Girls Club and some staff presentations. They provided a social media safety booth and a fingerprinting station. They also attended and conducted interviews with 4-H and FFA for the Mid-State Fair livestock. So they got to pitch, some of the kids got to pitch their livestock for sale and or donations. And for those of you that aren't aware, the Mid-State Fair starts tomorrow. And who is it? Tim McGraw, I think, is opening night. All right. And then I think that's it. We had just one last mention and a shout out to Frida Berman and the whole entire city that came together to put on with Travel Paso and other partners a wonderful July 4th celebration at Barney Schwartz Park. Again, it was staff, volunteers, vendors, you name it. And thank you to the City Council for supporting that, not only with policy, but financially. It was a great event that the community, I think, actively demonstrated their support and appreciation for. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. We'll move on then to council business committee reports. And again, we'll start with Councilman Bausch.
You're picking on me tonight. Sorry, thank you. You're picking on me tonight. Thank you. Also want to add my thanks and just gratitude for the amazing July 4th celebration. Great event, great community support, great camaraderie, and great fireworks. It was just an amazing celebration. So thanks, Frida, very much. And thanks to all the volunteers that came out. I really don't have a lot of committee reports to share with you. I do have one really positive comment, and I keep meaning to send this email and I haven't gotten around to it. But for those of us that haven't used it, my first opportunity to use the See-Click Fix app that the city put into place, we had a repair to a water valve on our street. It was repaired, I think, last year. The repair started to cave in, I think, because of the hot weather. I reported it, I think it was Saturday evening. I came out to come down to City Hall on Monday afternoon. The repair was completed already. I was absolutely amazed. That was a great repair. So whoever made that happen, thank you very much. I was just totally impressed. So if you see Click Fix, if you have a problem in the city, get your cell phone out, take a picture, find the app, and send it in. It works.
Very good. And next we'll go to our online people. And Mayor Martin, do you have anything to report?
Thank you, Fred. I have nothing to report tonight except I have received tremendous support on the 4th of July celebration, not to mention many of the other city's programs, particularly with sensitivity to the hot weather. So again, our thanks go to our staff. And I appreciate the fact that the community takes the opportunity to give us the feedback so we can gauge the effectiveness of our programs. So thanks, everybody, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Martin. And Mayor Pro Tem Hammond.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. I did one presentation with the change of command at Fort Hunter Liggett before we had the 4th of July celebration. I definitely want to give thanks and honor to our city staff and also our partner, Travel Paso, in supporting the effort with quite a lot of money to make that all happen. The staff did an amazing job. All the different departments were there. I saw so much going on with all the different people from different departments to put this all on. It was amazing. And I think, again, Frida was the one that was coordinating all this. She did excellent. So well done. Put one in for the team on that one for sure. I have nothing further. This week, I'm going to be back tomorrow, or actually Thursday, and I'm doing some presentations at the fair for the city. And I'll report further on our next meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hammond. And Councilman Gregory.
I would like to also thank Farida and our staff and all our volunteers for the 4th of July. A lot of great big kudos and a lot of fun, really nice event. So wanted to thank you all. It's really nice to have that spirit of our city come together and put up such a great event and for such an important day. So thank you. And been a little quiet, but we're starting to get things done on a few of our ad hocs, and we'll look forward to a busier August. And please have everybody stay cool in this hot weather. We don't want anybody getting overheated, so please take advantage of whatever you need to do. Cool.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll report that on June 22nd, 23rd, I attended the California League of Cities Policy Committees. That was the Revenue and Taxation Policy Committee, as well as the Housing Community Economic Development Policy Committees. That was our final meeting of the year, unless we are called into session at the annual conference. And we were looking over a lot of legislation, some that has passed, some that hasn't, and some that we were very pleased passed because we had sponsored it. We did have a lot of successes, and we'll continue to monitor. We monitor thousands of bills every year. On June 30th, I attended the CalCog Board of Directors meeting. That's our Council of Governments for the California Association. And that's all the regional governments of the state, and where I'm the immediate past president. And that was the meeting where I stepped down as president and let somebody else take over, which is a relief. I had 2 terms, and that was sufficient. But we also work with the League of Cities and with the national organizations to follow legislation and see that we get our proper funding and things we need for our infrastructure and our roads, streets, highways, et cetera. July 6th, we had a youth commission meeting, and we seated our new youth commission members. And also we honored some of those who are leaving or have left. And it was, again, we have a wonderful group. We are very pleased at the quality and very impressed with the ability of our current youth commission and what they're doing. They will be opening at the end of this summer a youth canteen or clubhouse right there at Centennial Park. Teen Center, they call it. And they're concentrating on the middle school kids as the group that they're going to primarily focus on, and trying to bring them in more active participation with the city and learning more about government. So it's really, really good. Then on July 10th, we had a scheduled Main Street Board of Directors meeting, which nobody showed up for at the place it was called for. And so one of our members asked Norma to come over to next door and just get some supper, where of course everybody was located to wish her a happy birthday and throw her an enormous 90th birthday party, which is extremely successful. Our city manager was there, along with many other dignitaries. And it was a wonderful event for Norma, and she was pleased as punch. And July 13th, we had a library board of trustees meeting here, and that was very successful also. We are moving ahead excellently. Tremendous programs planned. Our attendance is up tremendously. And also, it's amazing just how many people are participating in events right here. It's no longer, shh, you're in the library. Instead, there are children laughing. There's singing going on. There's live reading going on. There are so many different events for all ages going on in this facility. It's absolutely amazing. Our new librarian is a real successor to Angelica, and it was her leadership and the wonderful program she started that actually brought him to us from his state leadership position in Texas in libraries to Little Paso Robles, is where he wanted to go next after leading an entire state. So it's an amazing accomplishment for everybody. And Monday of this week, I was at the board of directors meeting for LOSAN, which is the operating agency for the Pacific Surfliner passenger rail from San Diego to San Luis Obispo. And we are actually the final station, but since it takes the train 1 more hour to get just from San Luis up to us, but the bus takes only a half an hour, that's why we now bus people up to Paso from San Luis to complete that route. But out of that particular meeting, it was very interesting because they have been had in a long-range plan to extend that line all the way up to the Bay Area. However, because there is now the Central Coast Rail Committee that is working with our own Pete Rogers of SOCOG as its executive director, and it has its own committee, which is the northern counties. What LOSAN decided at that meeting was that it is going to try to collaborate more with the Capital Corridor, with the San Joaquin, with Caltrans, with the state, and with our committee on how we can best handle extending everything up to the Bay Area so that we get more service in Paso Robles and all the way on up north and south. And we're working on a number of trips that are going to be really interesting and ways that we can have, all of us are using Amtrak to staff our trains. So the idea is we can jointly rent the equipment. We can then share our costs on the track, and we can jointly pay for Amtrak's operations and run the same train all the way through so people don't have to disembark and get on a new train every step along the way. And it looks like a very efficient possible way to do it, and we'll be moving ahead on that. Tonight I'm here. Tomorrow I fly to Seattle-Tacoma, where I will again be chairing Transportation Committee meetings nationally for all the cities of the United States, for the National League of Cities, and also participating with other sections of that committee on infrastructure and highway funding and street funding, et cetera, infrastructure throughout the United States. So that's my report for today. And I hope I'll have a good one to bring you back from Seattle, Tacoma next time. Upcoming events. Paso Robles Development Review Committee, July 24th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. Paso Robles Development Review Committee, July 31st at 3:30 p.m. Paso Robles City Council meeting, next meeting, August 1st at 6:30 p.m. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Hammond.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Fred. Good job.
Thank you.